Hi, this is Michael Dutner, and I want to thank you for joining me in this, our 10th edition of Exploring the Depth of Short Prayers. Today we're talking about a prayer again from the American Baha'i Prayer Book. This is from the Forgiveness section. It's on page 80 in my edition. So, a prayer from the Bab. I beg thee to forgive me, O my Lord, for every mention but the mention of thee, and for every praise but the praise of thee, and for every delight but delight in thy nearness, and for every pleasure but the pleasure of communion with thee, and for every joy but the joy of thy love and of thy good pleasure, and for all things pertaining unto me, which bear no relationship unto thee, O thou who art the Lord of lords, he who provideth the means and unlocketh the doors. I was raised as a Catholic, went to Catholic grade school, and inducted into all of the sacraments, including the sacrament of confession. Now, Catholic confession at that time was basically you go in and you state what sins you had committed. And there were a list of things that were sinful. And they had varying degrees of severity. But it was also almost always, the sins were doing things against other people. With this prayer, the Bab takes us much, much deeper. We're not asking forgiveness for what, in this prayer, what we've done to other people explicitly. We're asking forgiveness for what we do that is not in service to God. For every mention but the mention of thee. For every praise but the praise of thee. So when we speak, are we mentioning God? Are we praising God? Can people ascertain by our words that we do praise God? When we seek entertainment, when we seek, a fancy dinner, for every delight but delight in thy nearness, in every pleasure but the pleasure of communion with thee. Are we thanking God for the gift, for the bestowal of the means that we can indulge ourselves in these pleasures? And are we seeking pleasures that are in alignment with the teachings of the faith? A lot of the current entertainment movies especially, are just, they're hardly in line with Baha'i teachings. Maybe a few of them are, but you take the vast majority and, it's just a moral wasteland out there. And when you're having a good time, you look for every joy but the joy of God's love and his good pleasure. And then finally, we ask forgiveness for all things pertaining unto me, which bear no relationship unto thee. You can deduce from this prayer that we are to be much, much more spiritual than we already are. As a matter of fact, it looks like the spiritual aspect of our existence is far more important than the material aspect. So that's what the main body of the prayer took me to. But it's the end that I find is really profound. O thou who art the Lord of lords, he who provideth the means and unlocketh the doors. So not only are we asking for forgiveness, we're asking God to provide the means for us to accomplish his work on earth and to unlock the doors we need. The and to unlock the doors that are closed to us so we can pursue His work on earth. It's very interesting. It's a very, very different concept of forgiveness and a different concept of how God provides for us than I thought before. So study this prayer. Explore it in depth. And as another thing, look at this prayer in the sense of God's messages to the Israelites in the Old Testament, where He would always implore the Israelites to seek forgiveness for what they had done wrong. And then He would provide the means and unlock the doors. Look at the parallel there between the messages of the Old Testament prophets and this prayer. It's there. I think you'll find it interesting. So thank you for joining me, Michael Dutton, in this, the 10th episode of Exploring the Depth of Short Prayers. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that. And if you subscribe, you'll be notified when new episodes come online. So thank you again, and I hope to see you next time.